We live in a world where FF7 Remake actually exists. Isn't that weird? You want Cloud in a dress? Fuck it, sure. Why wouldn't they take that out of the game? That's some of the best fun, like, so some of the funniest moments in the game when Cloud's like, what? What do I have to do? What? What? That moment when you're young, you're like, this is goofy. And then let's see how it goes. Oh, the crazy pimp lord has picked Cloud instead of the girls. This is pretty funny. Like, there's some goofy shit that I think a lot of people want to see. And you know what? The people that are working... Here's the important thing. Here's what made Resident Evil 2 Remake good. The people that are working on Final Fantasy VII right now are the same people that are our age, that grew up playing Final Fantasy VII, that grew up knowing the importance of it. Sure, the people that are actually leading and making a lot of the decisions are the ones that are the same people that were making big decisions on FF7 back in the day, but that was one of the elements that made Resident Evil 2 Remake so good, and they talk about this behind the scenes. A lot of RE2 Remake's main development staff was people that literally worked on Resident Evil 2 back in the day, but a lot of the new blood that works at Capcom are the people that have been there for, like, you know, 5 to 10 years, who grew up playing Resident Evil 2, who got into Capcom because they love Resident Evil 2. Those are the people that got to get their cool ideas put in, like the way Mr. X is handled, like he has a hat and all this crazy stuff of redesigning the game in many ways, but doing it for the better. RE2 Remake is absolutely, in my opinion, a better game than the original Resident Evil 2, which is insane! Which is insane! So, I'm just like, and I think Square Enix could do that. I think they know that this is an important game, and hopefully not being super safe with everything on FF7 allows it to feel a little bit different, and a little bit new. I don't want it to be the exact same damn thing. I kind of love the fact that we're seeing things in a different light, with different story elements, with different beats. That's the shit that I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to play it again on the PC. I've already had some pretty brilliant modders that have done modding on fighting games and other games come up to me and they're like, hey, I have a collection of really cool mods that I would love for you to play through again when you do eventually play FF7 again for like, you know, for the remake. So I'm like, oh shit, so there's like the hard mode mod, which I forget the name of it all the damn time. There's a ton of new graphics mods. There's a ton of, like, a new threat mod. Yeah, I think that's gonna be one of them, on top of a bunch of other stuff. And a new threat is apparently really damn good. Like, it changes core elements of the game, it adds new story beats, it makes it feel like a different game, which is super cool. Like, I cannot wait for that. So, I've already had some pretty awesome help from some people, and when I get to that point, I think, I was like, dude, I'm gonna play FF7 immediately, and I'm like, wait, let's just calm down. I think I'm gonna spend my time for FF7, as far as playing it over again, once we actually get more concrete information. We actually saw that it exists, we saw more of the bombing run, and a little bit thereafter, because we saw apps in the sewer, and, you know, some stuff with Aerith. But I think I want to wait for post E3, because there's a good chance we might actually get a release date at E3 based on what they were talking about. We're going to get some probably concrete information on mechanics. Unfortunately, the news of it being playable was completely bogus, but there's a chance it might be playable at E3. That would be really damn cool. And then I'll be super hyped because we'll actually have something to look forward to. Right now we have something to look forward to. We got E3. So we have a month of just like fuming of what FF7 Remake is going to be like, and anticipating and being worried or being concerned, or, you know, being hyped about this and story elements or the gameplay mechanics. And I've already watched several videos on people breaking down the gameplay mechanics of the game, and it doesn't really fall in between Final Fantasy 15 or Kingdom Hearts 2. It has some stuff that is Kingdom Hearts 2-ish, but think more like a mixture of FF15 Royale elements where you can switch party members. You have access to special moves, you have a special move bar, which is similar to Kingdom Hearts. You have regular attacks and combo attacks, you actually have blocking in the game. So, it seems a bit different. Like, it seems like it's going to be not entirely one way or the other, but the good news is that the person that was the combat designer for Kingdom Hearts 2, which is arguably some of Square Enix's best real-time combat in all their games almost, is the person that's working on the game. So, not Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts 2, which is where a lot of people are like, Jesus, like, this is like an action game. Like, there's some crazy stuff in it. And from what I can tell and what I've seen of people playing KH2 on, like, Proud Mode and, you know, crazy are the difficulties, I'll agree. I've never done it myself, but there's some cool shit in it. So, I don't want it to be Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't want it to be directly FF15. I want it to be its own unique action thing. And from the little bit we've seen of what people have shown off, we haven't even seen magic, we haven't seen yellow mats, we haven't seen what summons do, like any of that shit. It's already looking different. It's already got some action-y ass elements in it without going too crazy. The thing I'm excited about, blocking. Like, there's an actual defend, and that is a bit different than what was available in Kingdom Hearts, which had like a parry block thing, and I can't even remember if it was in 15. We haven't seen materia at all. However, if you go back and look at the footage and you get real close in on it and you boost the gamma, you'll see that Cloud Sword has 2 materia slots on it, and there is 2 green materia stuck into them. They're not in the menu because it's like an early build of the game and it doesn't actually have all the mechanics probably present because it's like a demo build. But they're already showing the fact that weapons can be customized with materia. So that's pretty sick. We'll see. We haven't seen what any of the purple materias are, which are like battle assistant in many ways and stat assistant. That could be really cool. That could be really cool. So I think a lot of people, I think Square should be under pressure about the gameplay mechanics, because that is absolutely one of the things that has been critically sort of compromised about their games over the past couple of big action games they've had, because they are definitely taking all their games in a much heavier action direction. Between FF15, between Kingdom Hearts, the combat is usually what is arguably of lesser quality. Although it looks amazing, it looks incredible. The artistic aspect of it is something that definitely can't be summarized as being a negative. They seem to take that at heart with FF15. They did a lot to that game to try to make the combat better, because the little bit I played of 15's combat at the start, I'm like, yeah, this is okay. But later on, when I played Royale Edition, I really liked it. I thought Royale's combat was kind of damn sick. I am the most happy that I'm gonna get to play as Tifa. I'm gonna get to, maybe you have an entire run where you just play as Cloud. Maybe you have an entire run where you just play as Barret, or like that'll actually lead the game, potentially co-op. Like, that could be incredibly fun. And the game seems like it supports it. Like, the game at any point is allowing the player to control all the action at any time between any of the characters. At least it seems that way. How friggin' nuts would it be if there was some sort of online component with the game? And Square's been pretty big on their online component stuff, especially with FF15, so I'd imagine they're trying to increase the longevity of the game in many ways as much as they can, because they know they gotta keep people excited for FF7 Part 1, 2, and 3, if there is gonna be 3 parts. And I keep seeing a lot of... I find it crazy that we still have to keep having this conversation. I see a lot of people that are like, this game's gonna be episodic? Oh my god, I hope they release like all the episodes like in a month or something. Like, I hope it's like Telltale, and this is where that terminology falls apart. Using the term, and this is exactly what I thought when they first announced the game, and they're like, yo, FF7's gonna be episodic. I was like, oh shit, so this is gonna be like a Telltale game? This is gonna be like, so we're gonna get 3 episodes of like the Midgar escape. It's gonna be like, what, an hour to 2 hours long, and we're gonna have to wait like piece to piece? I see tons of people still talking about it like it's like that. It's not, it actually isn't like that. And even back in like 2016 when they were first talking about the game after they got some information, after some information was let out, they specifically explained, no, it's not like small bite-sized chunks. There is going to be multiple parts of the game, but each one will be its full and complete game. So FF7 Part 1 is going to be, in my opinion, most likely the entire experience of Midgar, but just much more fleshed out. Instead of it being the 6 to 10 hour experience it is when you first go through it, it most likely is going to be something along the lines of like 15 to 20 hours, like a full game's length when you go through it, and then if you play through the whole thing, probably 30 hours. So, or even more. And I'm completely fine with that. I want a more fleshed out Midgar. I want that to be a big ass thing that you can experience and do, and have events that lead all the way up until you escape on the bike with everyone and everyone's in the back of the truck. You fight the very last, like, I bet you the last boss of Disc 1 isn't going to be some insane motorball metalhead enemy that chases you down on the on the Midgar unfinished freeways. I guarantee you it's not going to be that way. That enemy will be stuck somewhere else. That enemy is going to be like, well, this just doesn't make any sense thematically. Boop, we're going to put this guy at some other part in the story, and then the last boss of the of FF7 Part 1 should probably be someone like, you know, Rufus, or one of those fights that you had, or one of the more important head of Shinra fights, like after the president of FF7, I'm sorry, the president of Shinra dies. So thematically, that makes a lot. That's like a good change. That makes a lot more sense. You shouldn't be fighting Sephiroth. Sephiroth should be the Mordor. You know, at the end of Lord of the Rings, Sephiroth should be the thing that's beyond the horizon, the mountains that are in the distance where you have no idea, or what is out there, and the characters have no idea what it's going to be. So Rufus would sort of be a boss fight that ends closure to leaving Midgar, because what is Midgar? It's about the fight against Shinra, for the most part. And then that fight changes dramatically in the story throughout the rest of the game. It's not all about you versus we gotta save the planet and stop Shinra. Everything dramatically changes after that. So that's where the second game should pick up. That's just my opinion. If I was responsible for story decisions and had to make Midgar much bigger and make the game much more expensive than what it was before, that's what I would do. And I'm personally okay with a situation where if they just want to make a big 20 to 30 hour Midgar game that takes all the big events in Midgar and probably takes the situation where they leave Midgar, they go to Calm, they literally rent a room at Calm and talk about Sephiroth. That's some awkward pacing. Like, that's like, oh, okay, now we're splitting our game off into the world. That moment should happen absolutely at some point. That moment should happen between Cloud and everyone when they're in when they're locked up at the top of Shinra Towers. When they're all like, they're chained and locked up and they don't have any way out, and they're just like talking with each other. Like, that moment should happen with Cloud, and everyone's like, so you know, like, what's going on here? That should be the part where Cloud is telling everyone about, yeah, I used to work with this Sephiroth guy, and then he went crazy. It should happen at the top of Shinra Towers, and then what happens the next morning? Why are all of our cell doors unlocked? There's blood everywhere. What is going on? So thematically, things just have to change. This is why at the end of, you still have a reason why things are happening, but at the end of the first version of FF7, it's essentially the characters on a broken highway with the sun coming up over the horizon, and they have to leave their home behind, everything they've known almost their entire life in Midgar, and they just have to start moving. They have to start going east towards Port Junion to cross the ocean. And that's them just looking over the mountains, and it's literally the end of the first Lord of the Rings game. Like, I'm sorry, Lord of the Rings movie. Please, like, please have it be that way. That would be incredibly, like, a great feeling of, oh my god, is the next game going to be open world? So I have to go to Calm next? No, it's going to be over here. What if you look on the horizon? Do you see, like, Fort Condor over there? Can you see the gun of Junion Harbor? Like, there should be little teases all over that shit. And then secondly, the game for the follow-up games, they said are going to be different games. They didn't explain it episodically, like, and this is why the term episodic, everyone thinks of Telltale style games. And I understand that, because that's what I thought too. They're going to be full games, so it's not, don't think of the games exactly like Final Fantasy 13, but Final Fantasy 13 had a 1, 2, and a 3, and all these games were different, and they had different mechanics that sort of carried some stuff over from the other games, but were fundamentally different games, the first, second, and third one. That is what they're aiming for. So there's going to be a completely new title with new mechanics. The characters are going to do different things. You're probably going to get access to maybe even different materials that weren't available because you now have the world is at your disposal. And there's going to be a huge gameplay thing that's going to change. It most likely is going to be FF15 open world in some way. That shit would be badass, where Part 1 is about sort of like corridor grinding and exploring the inner seedy depths of Midgar and the upper plate and the lower plate. That would be really interesting. But it's mostly going to be, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a corridor fest. And that means it's going to be linear, and everyone immediately freaks out, oh, it's linear! You can absolutely take, like, most of my favorite games of all time are linear. Metal Gear Solid is linear as shit. Final Fantasy VII, the original, to be completely honest, is a fairly linear game. You kind of have to just take this crit path of where to go, and there's not a lot of backtracking in most situations. Sometimes you have to go back to areas, but all that stuff is required of the player. It's a pretty damn linear experience, but it has a world that you're able to run out and around in. So, all I'm saying is that FF13, everyone's going to immediately jump back. It's just going to be like FF13. You would think that they would be aware of what people had to say about that game and why it was the way it was. Yeah, Final Fantasy X is an extremely linear game. I remember the first time I played FF10, and it's a good RPG. I actually like FF10 a lot. I'm not super engaged to play it again, but from what I did play, I did enjoy it. It's a super linear game. I remember seeing the world map the first time, and you get your ship, and I'm like, oh shit, world map, let's go! I'm gonna try to land. Why can't I land everywhere? Why can't I do what I've been doing in FF8 and FF9? Why is this super... Why can't I do exactly what I've... Where's my world? Where's my circular world that I take an airship around and try... The shit that they've been doing since 6? Where is that? I remember that in FF10 was like a moment where you're like, what the fuck is going on here? So... I think that doesn't make it a bad game. Like, it's a super linear game, but its story and its characters and even its gameplay, like, the sphere grid is interesting enough to keep you playing, to keep you want to get shit done. So, that's what still makes it good. And being linear doesn't mean bad. Some of my, like I said, some of your favorite games are probably pretty linear. Not everything is gonna be fucking Grand Theft Auto. I'm super sorry to say it. I'm so sorry. Not everything in your life has to be Grand Theft Auto. And I think it's nice that games now are realizing that, because we went through that for about 6 fucking years of everyone trying to be Grand Theft Auto, including FF15. Funny enough, I think FF15's open world is the best aspect of that game. And it's incredible. But it was incredibly taxing to make that shit happen.